Alright, Muhiba, so we are going to take a look at your essay, starting with your introduction, moving on forward. So one thing I want to say right away, so a single space, this is being 3 pages, is okay. We have intro, 1, 2, 3, body paragraphs, and a long conclusion. So let me start here. I did a few things. I highlighted some concerns I have of sentences that are 100% plagiarized from another essay. Now this, and I've talked to Miss Heaton about this before, and I know you worked with her as well as a little bit when I told you. 100% plagiarism is not, any kind of plagiarism is not good, but these sentences are 100% plagiarized from another essay. But because the rest of it is so much of regular words, know that for this time I'm giving you a pass, but if this happens in the hysteria essay, I have to write you up for plagiarism. So be aware of that. So let's talk about your essay. Aside from that, what I've been doing with everyone is I'm putting their essay into double space format. Even though we haven't learned MLA, this will make it easier for me to go through the paper. However, let's take a look at what happens to yours when it's double spaced and when it's put in 12 point font. Your introduction becomes over a page long. I'm going to tell you, this, especially in MLA format where you probably won't start to hear, this is way too long of an introduction. So let's take a look at this. So what I did, to make it easier for me to grade the stuff that you have in your essay that's your own, I got rid of the highlighted sentences that are not your own work so I can look at what you do have. So one of the ways you do not want to start a paper is with the definition, and that's exactly how you started it off. It is actually, here we go, this whole thing right here is all definition. I don't think it's a strong enough hook for what you have because you don't want to start with that definition. In addition to that, you talk about definition of euthanasia is direct killing a person with a disability or terminal illness to relieve them of their sufferings, and you talk about the difference from then and then into today. So oftentimes this is something we do in papers to show the progression, but you don't necessarily need to do that because what we're looking at is mercy killing today. Because on a technicality, the way the English language has evolved, and any language in general, is the way it was spoken hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago doesn't really matter to what we're doing today. Because if you want to bring about how this definition has changed from the Greek word into now, it doesn't quite work because then you have to extend mercy killing into the Greek time. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay? So you talk about very often people will call euthanasia mercy killing, mainly because the method is to put a person on their pain. Okay, so that explains it a little bit more. And again, you're still explaining what mercy killing is. So I got rid of all that, which builds up with what mercy killing is. And then with the introduction, you do not want any specific examples. This is not where you want to introduce of mice and men or the text and bring those examples of, well, this person did this and this person did this. So I'm getting rid of those examples. You want to save those examples for your body paragraphs because your introduction is just to get the reader interested and to start building information on what mercy killing is. Okay, so based on the things I got rid of and the reasons I told you why we got rid of them, you have a much shorter introduction. You still need a hook. Actually, let me go up a second. Why is that not working? There we go. Right here. This is how it needs to be. Your intro needs a hook. You need to build background information. And specifically, that information needs to connect the hook to the thesis, and your thesis is mercy killing is not ethical because of A and B. This is the format your intro needs to be. It needs to move into your body paragraphs where you have evidence that is relative to your claim. You need to have your body paragraphs be relative to your claim. You need evidence to support it and analysis that relates the evidence to the claim. Your third body paragraph addresses the opposition and uses evidence and analysis the opposition would use, and then you counter it, or as we typically call an argumentative writing, refute it with evidence and analysis that proves how you are right and they are wrong. And your conclusion restates the thesis, recaps paper, and has last words for your audience. So you need a hook. This kind of builds some background information. The killer kills the other out of mercy and love, not the usual motives of hatred, rage, or anger. This is pretty good. Since the practice of mercy killing can lead to abuse, mercy killing should not be allowed. God created humans on earth with reasons and purposes in mind. Therefore, they are not to be seen as burdens. We are to preserve and make it fruitful, since it's the fundamental base of all goods. So the intro is okay. You don't quite have a thesis yet, so you need to make sure that you have it included here, right at the end. And then the only thing I'm going to give you an air of caution, I'm seeing a lot of people do this. This is fine, and there's stuff in the articles you can relate this to, but make sure the key of argumentative essay writing is to look at different texts and really using that. So overall, we cut your intro paragraph in almost half, and you have some good stuff here, but I really think you need to work on making it shorter. Put a hook and have your specific thesis there. All right, so because your paragraphs are so long, I'm going to keep on the Word doc so I can kind of change some things and talk to you about what is going on. First thing, grammar cannot is one word, and talk about how mercy killing can be ethical. And even though I said you didn't have a thesis in the beginning that strictly said what your position on, it's because the plagiarized sentence kind of said that mercy killing is not ethical. So the problem is, if you're taking the position, and especially if I look at your conclusion where you're talking about it's not ethical, when you start a topic sentence like that, mercy killing can be ethical. Because you're addressing the opposition, you wouldn't want to say this. You would, because you're kind of then saying that it is ethical instead of saying that other people find it ethical. Right here, you want to get rid of that first person. You should only be in third person. And then you talk about this as an inference, but I don't know what the inference is. He does commit a mercy killing because she is dying. So I'm not really sure what your inference is there. But you do have the analysis here that you're talking about people see mercy killing as the only humane option. And then this is where we get into some hypotheticals, which is dangerous. Emily didn't ask Roswell to end her life or to save her. Maybe she wanted to spend as long as possible, blah, blah, blah. So this is not in the article. You can't make these hypothetical suggestions. You can say there's not enough evidence to provide an answer other than Roswell is the one who made the decision, because the article does imply he's the one who made the decision, it wasn't her. But you can't throw in a hypothetical about maybe she wanted to do this unless the article specifically says it. And you don't really have a transition here. You could say something like another example of mercy killing comes in John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, where Slim said, and then you would change this a little bit. So actually, let's change that right here. Another example of a mercy killing is demonstrated in John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. And I saw you did this with the article. You need to italicize it. You don't need to add quotation marks if you're italicizing it. I could say, where Slim said, "You had a George, I swear you had a 107. Good. This quote shows that the death of Lenny was a mercy killing. Yep, so it shows that it's a mercy killing. This is a little bit awkward. What suggests that this is a mercy killing? Oh, no, that's fine. Suggests that this is mercy killing is George took an instant kill shot when Curly would have shot him and left him to bleed out. So this is true. So you have the suffering. But so overall, the problem with here is you have evidence, but this is way too long. I think you need to shorten your evidence a little bit. And this doesn't do anything to support your claim that it's not ethical, because you only have one thing right here, is Emily didn't ask for him. So this is all Mercy killing is okay, which is fine if you bring it up in the opposition paragraph. But the reason you want the opposition in your last paragraph is because you've already built enough evidence to convince your reader this is the right way. When you start off right away with this, especially with the unclear portions of your introduction, it reads to me that you think it is ethical. And then again here, people think it's not moral to end the patient's life because he has the right to live longer, which shows that mercy killings are unethical. So this is actually an outdated thing in English language. You don't need to be specific to say he. You can say he or she, or what I would encourage you is to use the singular they. They have the right to live, because that oftentimes we use they as a singular, so it's fine if you use it here. Patients in coma is not indicated they wish to die, have the right to, etc. So this is fine, but again, you only have two things that support your claim that mercy killings should not be allowed, and that's here. Why should we have the power to decide how long someone lives? That should be left unto God to decide. So two things with this one. One, if you ever ask a question in the body paragraph, get rid of it and just answer it. Because that's what I'm seeing a lot in these body paragraphs, is you need to be able to answer these questions instead of just asking them. And then this is fine to include, and again, like I said, a lot of you are using that, but you really need to make sure you're incorporating evidence from the text, whether that's the articles or the book, to have this claim to emphasize that this is why it is not ethical. And then right here, we have another thing of mercy killing being ethical. You slip into first person. Suffering is part of life. You're missing a few words here and there, aside from the other grammar things I've talked about. Mercy killing only makes the killer believe they are greater than God. Here's the thing I want to caution you on, and this is what I've had to explain to a few people. I totally understand that this is a perspective a lot of you have, but you can't say things like these in an argumentative paper because the texts drive your analysis. And to be honest with you, I can say that I don't think Kevorkian thinks he's greater than God, but I still know this is a perspective and I respect that. But the problem is you don't have the evidence to support this. You don't really have anything that you're using here. And then, as we get to your conclusion, I'm going to make this a whole page into a separate page. You have a very long conclusion that is longer than your body paragraphs, and you never want your introduction and conclusion longer than your body paragraphs. So you go into about how it's not moral to kill a person even if they're terminally ill, and then you explain all these. So let's talk about your conclusion for a second. Your conclusion should not introduce any new information. So you talk about the legality issue in here, ended with it's illegal here in Michigan. And because we're talking in Michigan, this is an okay way to end it here. The problem with the conclusion is you didn't do anything in the body paragraphs to show your side of it. Your paper honestly reads as a bunch of reasons why mercy killing should be ethical. And that's kind of the trick with it, right? Is you wrote this whole paper about like, well, they're wrong because life should be valued, but all your evidence that you had and all your evidence and your explanations led to it's ethical. So maybe that's something you need to consider if you rewrite this, is even if you don't agree with it, just take the position that it's ethical, because your essay really has this down. So I showed you some things in your body paragraph in your intro to make it. You need to get rid of new information in here. You need to make sure that this just recaps the paper, and this is way too long. So shorten the conclusion. You need analysis in your body paragraphs, and then that will help you for either the rewrite or the next essay.